The other thing to look at too is, I mean, the bullish sentiment in Bitcoin is bothersome to me because I've never known something to make a bottom where people get so bullish so quickly. And that's also something that kind of concerns me. And when you look at this bigger chart, right? I mean, it's a great bounce. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Bitcoin's up 100% off the lows, but let's not forget in 2018, we hit 3,500 and we bounced back 300% to like 10,000. And that was still a bear market. We still, ultimately stayed in the lower ranges for quite some time before we really broke out.
Today, we have Gareth Soloway discussing the current state of Bitcoin and why we need to get ready for the coming price movements. He notes that Bitcoin has been up for 5 months and is currently piercing $30,000, which could indicate a short-term top and then drive the price up between $43,000 to $44,000. Soloway highlights that $30,000 is a major psychological level for Bitcoin and believes that if it can't hold above this level for multiple days, then things could get nasty, especially if the stock market takes a big leg down. Soloway also mentions that people are still buying low-utility coins, expecting them to go back up, despite market conditions, and questions the possibility of a new bull market in crypto. Let's get right to the latest interview with Gareth Soloway as he gives us his prediction for Bitcoin for the next few weeks, and where cryptocurrency is headed for the second half of 2023. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content we do here. Let's get right into the video.
It's been up for 5 months.
Absolutely.
You got to think about that too.
And one of the things I'm watching very carefully is you basically have Bitcoin now just, number one, piercing the even numbers. So I'm not sure in trading how much you pay attention to even numbers, but I've found in trading that, number one, the retail investor puts stops at even numbers. So number one, generally those stops will get taken out because the algos will pierce them, which will then take out the short stop. And ultimately it gets max euphoria, right? When you see all of a sudden a 3 instead of a 2 in front of Bitcoin, 20,000s to 30, it just creates that like, oh, I got to get in now because here goes the run. And those usually denote short-term tops. But then also what I think is fascinating on Bitcoin is that you have so much former trading areas right in this 30,000 level, right? So if we look at the bull market from 2021, when it dumped out, this was the low. So psychologically, and you could see it right over here too, before it broke down, that was a huge, huge level. So it makes sense that right around 30,000, this is going to be a major psychological level for Bitcoin to try to get through. It doesn't mean it can't pierce it, like you said. I mean, it's already pierced 30,000. But for me, this is the big level to test, whether or not can it get above this level and then can it hold above this level. That this is my key level. So for me, if it were to get above this area here, let's say 30,500 is kind of that line in the sand, down sloping line, flat line. So if we were to stay above this for a certain amount of days and really start establishing it as a support level, then I think you have to say that the low is probably in, right? Based on that. Now, if we gets rejected here and we start breaking some of these technical supports, then I do think that things could get nasty very, very quickly, especially if we see the stock market take a big leg down, the risk off trade start to come back in. Think about the people that bought Bitcoin here, and then they thought they were just, going to print money to 100,000 to beyond. And then they came back, they're like, okay, I'm break even. And all of a sudden they find themselves back in. So there's a lot of those people psychologically that'll say, okay, this is a level, I'm back to even after being down 50%. Let me exit the trade at this point. So it just creates a lot of resistance. When you're dealing with crypto, and I traded in the beginning of my career through the .com bubble, and I watched, penny stocks go up hundreds of percentage points almost daily, just like Doge did, just like SHIB, just like so many of these other ones. So like, for me, it's hard to imagine how we could be at a end of the bear market cycle in crypto without a bigger washout of these crap coins, right? Of so many of these basically zero utility coins. And so, I mean, that's something that I struggle with, is where I'm like, listen, if the mental cycle, the psychology of investors drove the .coms, it drove the crypto markets, and you haven't seen that. People are still buying NFTs. People are still buying, these crap coins, expecting them to go back up. So how do you come to terms with so many coins being out there and maybe a new bull market in crypto? I mean, there's so many different lawsuits that are being pushed out, but I want to know the regulation. Like for me, that's one of the reasons why I can't put a ton of money in Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency yet. I mean, I certainly have small dabblings. I do swing trades. But for me, it's like, okay, well, if you don't know the rules of the game, how do you play that game, right?
I guess I'm not overly concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you still think crypto is going to trade regardless of what happens with regulations?
I do. I just wonder how do altcoins, more than anything, Bitcoin to me is fine. In Ethereum is fine. It's more the question of what happens when you have to have quarterly reports from some of these. I mean, when the books get opened on some of these crap coins and you get to see behind the curtains, what does that do to some of them? Does that cause a panic? Do we see I mean, maybe that's one of the reasons a lot of these will go away. Maybe all of a sudden you do get this type of like pull the curtains back, and then investors are finally like, wait a minute, there's nothing there. At least for me on the charts, this was resistance right here around this 28,700 level, right? We kept on piercing it, and then finally we've moved it through it. So what's interesting is, and you know this from technical analysis, is when you break resistance, it now becomes support. So now on the way back down, let's say it gets rejected at this 30 and change level, this now becomes support. If it gets through there, then this level now becomes support. So there's a bunch of supports that were established because of all this sideways consolidation. So it's going to take a hefty sell to get us back through that. That's where things get more interesting. If we do get rejected and we get through this area, you then start trading towards the 25,000 level, and eventually you can retest some of these lower levels. But for me, yeah, I mean, right now, I'm a trader that is very focused level by level. So I'm looking to see, okay, well, what happens here at 30,000 and change level? And if it gets rejected, do we break this level? If it breaks, well, then the next level is right here. And I'm just kind of a step-by-step trader in that respect. And again, that's part of the shorter term mindset of what I do. It's just like, okay, that's been broken. Now you look for the next one. And if that one doesn't get broken, then you look and kind of focus on that. Yeah. So again, weekly chart shows the same thing. You have all this kind of sideways chop here, all this kind of area here. The one thing I would say is if we do break 30, the next big level for me would be this area here, this kind of retrace to this area where you have these lows connected to these lows. And that actually brings us to maybe, I mean, you know, kind of the best case scenario for me would be a move up to 43, 44,000, at least in the near term. So that would be the bull case. To me, again, you know, I look at this bigger chart, and this happens to be the midpoint of this M pattern, and you can even see the A on this chart, right? Here's your M, and then here was your little A pattern. So I mean, it's a classic MA pattern, and then this is just a retrace to that middle point, which is so common.
Soloway finds it difficult to imagine how the crypto market could be at the end of a bear market cycle without a bigger washout of low utility coins. He notes that if Bitcoin breaks $30,000, the next significant level would be a retracement to the low that could bring the price up between $43,000 to $44,000. He does see bullish sentiment in the market, which concerns him, as bottoms are usually not made when people are so bullish so quickly. Soloway reminds us that technical analysis is universal, and charts are a representation of human emotions. So trading is based on buyers and sellers reacting to greed and fear. What do you think about Gareth Soloway's latest prediction for Bitcoin, and where he sees the crypto market heading in the next few months? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.